Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to your Wholesaling Lease Options Marketing Mastermind. If you can see the screen clearly and if you can hear it as well, please go ahead and confirm in the GoToWebinar control panel. If you guys have any urgent feedback, questions, clarifications, go ahead and type that into the GoToWebinar control panel so we can address those and keep you moving forward. Got a couple questions that came in, went through some of them. A lot of them actually we'd already covered in our frequently asked questions, and you can already find in the replay section of our website, learntoinvestforfree.com. And so yeah, it's looking to be a really light day today, unless you guys do have a couple inquiries on your end or scenarios that we can tackle and jump through. Bill, they're still taking a look at that particular lead. As soon as there's anything of interest, we'll go ahead and let you know. Let me see if there's any other updates or movements when it comes to that. So I'll check that while we are on the session here today. But I had a call with them on Friday, and I know they were still trying to work out some numbers or get the seller on the line there. How are things going on your end? Go ahead and do a mic and audio test whenever you can.
Yeah, things are loud and clear, man. I can hear you.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm just waiting for Steve's mic to kick in here this morning. Looks like he's trying to sign in. Group coaching today, guys, takes place at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. So if you guys are looking to dial in or get support when it comes to Podio, how we manage and work our leads, and if you need to get unstuck, I know Podio can be a little bit confusing sometimes, right? Definitely does happen. And so that's the session where we actually do log into Podio, show you how to get unstuck, how to navigate the workspace, and get right back moving forward, right? Steve, do a mic test whenever you can. I don't know if you've already dialed in, or if you're still trying to jump on. You there?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning. What did Henry or Ken get back to us with regards to the land lead that Bill had sent in for review?
I don't believe so. I didn't look at the lead itself, just the task last night.
Awesome. Just double check, see if there's anything on it, if there's any interesting updates, or if they're still trying to work the lead and get more information. In the meantime, I'll transition to some of the questions that did pop up. If you guys have anything urgent, go ahead and type it into the GoToWebinar control panel. Or if you just have a simple question, scenario, or objection to tackle, that way we can address it live on today's session, get you unstuck, and help keep you moving forward. First question that came in: what do you guys put in your contracts to buyers when selling a rented house that the tenant is staying till the end of the lease? A couple of related questions to these are: is it possible to move a property with a tenant in it? What are the common things to look out for when you do have a tenant in place? I mean, there's practical things to consider, right? Like, how are you going to show the property, getting access to the property? So it does pose some challenges, or at least you do have to handle it with care. At least that's what I think. Whenever you're dealing with some tenants in there, can always work against you or help move your cause forward. All the contracts I have show some form of guarantee that there is no one in place. Well, first thing you got to do is remove that line item disclosure, whatever it says about guaranteeing that there is no one in place, since this is a property with a tenant in it. In your guys' wholesaling operation, Bill, do you come across or do you move a lot of properties with tenants in them? What are some common scenarios that you've experienced, and maybe stuff that they can look out for?
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to do what's known as an estoppel letter, and that's a fancy term that simply means you verify, the terms and conditions of the lease. You get a copy of the tenant's application, you get a copy of the lease, and then you send them a letter and just verify that, the rent is such and such, their security deposit was, $500 or whatever it is. And you just verify all the terms and conditions of the lease and the application after you get a copy of it. Because sometimes what happens is landlords cut special deals with the tenant that's not necessarily reflected in the lease or in the application. And so you want to know if there's any kind of special deals and what those deals are, if any. and verify that the security deposit is the amount that you have on the lease, etc. Because sometimes the numbers, there's a discrepancy between what the tenant says and what the documents say. So with that kind of information, then you can provide that to your investor when you assign or sell the property, and then they know exactly what they're getting into, and you've got actual verification from the tenant. Back to you.
Now, with the tenants, man, if you're wholesaling, I've had more challenges with tenants than I have on deals that have gone through smoothly without them, right? A couple things I like to note, is this a seller that liked the landlord? Did they have any challenges in the past? Do they want to stay? Do they not want to stay? How much time do they need to move, right? That definitely affects the closing. When the property, how soon can they get out there? How soon can the new buyer, the cash buyer, the rehabber get started working on the property? Most of the buyers we work with want to get started right away on a property, right? Fix it, put it back on the market, get a tenant in there, keep renting it out, or get a retail buyer in the property. So if you got a tenant in there, you might not be able to close in 30 days. They might not be able to move, especially if you're dealing with a motivated seller. You might not have a motivated tenant on your hands. We would prefer to deal with a vacant property, but this stuff does happen, especially when you're doing duplexes. We did a fourplex assignment, and all the tenants wanted to stay in place. So fortunately, the buyer that we were picking up, they were okay with that, and the deal went pretty smoothly there, right? We've had instances where a tenant says that yes, they would like to stay, and our buyer would prefer that the tenant stays in place so that they don't have to fix it up immediately, but that type of buyer is pretty rare, right? Showing the property, okay? We've had situations where we'll bring our retail or cash buyers or rehabbers to the property, and sometimes it arouses a lot of curiosity and questions, and we don't want them to get the wrong picture. So definitely look out for a tenant who may end up misleading the seller or sidetracking the deal, right? Seller's happy with the number that they're getting. You are in the process of wholesaling or assigning the deal to somebody else, turning a profit in the middle. The buyer likes the property. If a tenant wants to stay, then deal with a buyer who would like to keep tenants. If the tenant does not want to stay, then that'll probably make it easier for you, since most buyers want a vacant property anyway, right? So it's good all around. That's one of the things that I would definitely look out for, just to make sure that the tenant isn't somebody that's going to end up sidetracking the deal. Steve, were you able to pull that up in Podio by any chance? Steve, you there?
Yeah, same as when I looked at. Yeah, same as when I looked at it last night.
Okay, can you text Henry right now? Hey, let him know Bill's asking about the lead you sent in. Doable, nice. Is it a dud lead? So that we can either move it forward or mark it, mark it dead.
Yeah, this one I assigned over to Ken.
Sweet. Text Henry nonetheless. Tell him to tell Ken to take a look at it.
Okay.
And I would appreciate and want a response today, right?
Yep.
Just let him know,
Gotcha.
hey, we got people sending us leads, deals. Like, it's not on us, it's on them. If they drop the ball, then then they drop the ball. We just got to keep it moving forward. Exactly. All right, next question. I recently passed my real estate exam. They are in the Pennsylvania market, and I'm meeting with a broker this week to start the licensing process. I know I have to always fully disclose that I'm a licensed agent when meeting with buyers and sellers. However, in regards to sending out to letters to sellers, must I include in the letter that I'm an agent? I'm ready to send out my next round of mailers and want to know the best course of action. Thanks. Bill deals with a lot of agents. This is an interesting one because here in California, you have brokers that are very investor friendly and investor savvy. They do a lot of business with wholesalers, with rehabbers. They are comfortable with the wholesaling and the assignment process. They'll even work with you on your owner financing or creative investing solutions, right? And then on the flip side, you have brokers that would look at wholesaling and claim that's a strategy that doesn't exist. You cannot do that, despite all the deals that are closing around them, and that's happening in the local market, right? I know for sure here in California, you definitely have to disclose that you're a licensed agent, even on something as simple as a flyer that you leave and stick on the fence, right? They are strict about that. You're right, Jimmy. They are strict about that kind of stuff here in this area. Bill, in your territory, how's it with for licensed agents and brokers? Do they have to mention that they're an investor? What's the how does it go down in your area?
Well, usually you have to disclose that, that the buyer is a licensed real estate agent in the state of Pennsylvania operating as a principal in this transaction. But my best advice to the guy would be, or to the gal, I'm not sure who that is to go ahead and check with their sponsoring broker. Their sponsoring broker will tell them, him or her, exactly what they would like to see in any communications that they have with the general public. So, look to your sponsoring broker first, and then to your local real estate commission second, to see what's required in your state. Because trust me, the difference between state A and state B is night and day as to what the rules are and what you can and can't do, in that market. But just as a general rule of thumb, disclose, and then you're never going to be in trouble. I mean, you're not going to get in trouble because you over-disclosed. But again, lean to your sponsoring broker in anything that you do in the real estate business. Once you're licensed, your sponsoring broker is responsible for, so he or she should let you know exactly the way they want you to operate in the real estate game when your license is with them. Back to you.
Awesome. If you guys have any urgent inquiries or anything to add for the session, go ahead and type it in the GoToWebinar control panel. Looks like, it's a pretty light schedule here today. Hey, Steve, I got your comment on Facebook. You said the tasks have almost doubled if you're going to work the workspace. Are you referring to the Phoenix market?
Yeah, I am. That's that's why I was curious how they're assigning the leads. It's not just one lead. I gave you an example of one I was curious about, but it's a significant number of tasks being assigned, so I was just curious.
Okay.
If they were doing the same thing that I'd already done,
So so that I'm not sure. In order to find that out, take a look at the workspace and see who assigned it.
Okay.
Because if it's the leads team that assigned it, then just talk to them directly and find out. It's possible that somebody else went rogue and didn't get the memo or thought they were helping, so we can reverse that, right? So just take a look at who did what, and then we can have them undo it today if they, if they missed your memo or they're not following the protocol.
Okay, no, all good. As long as I know who to talk to, I got it handled.
Okay, sweet. But yeah, they can easily reverse that. I haven't I haven't anyone do anything. The only I've already briefed you on that workspace with all the other updates there.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, just a heads up. No, we didn't. We didn't go in there and just move everything over. We had somebody here had some trouble with their workspace recently. That's the challenge when you're transitioning, right? Because you're always communicating with. There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, you're going from an old workspace to a new one. There's leads that need to get transferred over, right? There's the guy that wasn't in the office Monday through Thursday, shows up on Friday, doesn't know what's going on, logs back in his workspace following old instructions, right? So that, exactly. And it looks like they got bombarded. Let's see. Lilia, Gil, if I hand a buyer to a real estate agent who has a rent-to-own house, how can they quote-unquote reward me? With agents that you're talking to, that's a quick conversation, and just ask them, you know what? I come across a lot. I come across a lot of buyers or tenant buyers, depending on what strategy you're using, and it looks like you have some properties that they might be interested in. There are agents in the marketplace, and I've come across some other investors that have great relationships with agents, and they're able to, send out some referrals. And so I was wondering if, I do come across tenant buyers that fit your property or would like to know more. Do you have, are you accepting referrals? That's one question you can ask them. Would you be interested in talking to these families or to these people? That's another way to ask it, right? Do you have a referral program where we can refer or send some people over to you to ask about the services and the deals and the properties you have under contract? Right? So what I like to find out from an agent, a wholesaler, somebody we're trying to do business with, I'll try to get an idea of what they have done in the past. Okay? What programs they've used, what documents that they used, basically the overall procedure that they've done before and that they have gotten paid. Right? Because if they have a process that they've done before and they were able to work with an investor, or they have a referral program, great. I just want to maximize whatever program that they do have, all right, and not make it seem like I'm trying to create a unique or a special scenario, right? Special to the point that it doesn't seem legit, or it's not something that occurs on a daily basis in the marketplace, right? Now, if you're in a type of area that 100% of the agents never do business with wholesalers, I mean, I think that's just really absolutely rare, right? I think in any market, you're going to find, you will find markets where agents are not open to working with investors at all, and but there are markets that agents end up becoming or getting licensed, right? Because there's certain advantages to it, and as they scale their operations, they see the benefits of having an agent on board. Like, for example, the short sale specialists here in our marketplace. A lot of the short sale specialists and people that I come across that are still active with short sale pipelines, they end up getting licensed. They end up having their wives, their family friends, somebody that they know, they recommend to get licensed so that they can scale the operations. They can get access to information, other tools that require you to be licensed, right? So, exactly. I just make it, don't make it seem like it's something that they cannot do and they have to bend over backwards. If this agent has never worked or done business with an investor before, then I would not prioritize this person. Unless you have the time of day to educate the agent on how wholesaling works, you can accurately and intelligently, right, break down how the documentation works. You can walk them through title and escrow. You can explain everything, and you can demonstrate a track record in your area, right? And that education process can take a while. Is that really the best use of your time? If you're a full-time investor and time is on your hands, availability is on your hands, then no problem. Spend your day doing that, right? But if you're a part-time investor, if you're already busy with a part-time job, a full-time job, a hectic schedule, or whatever else it is you've got going in your life, focus on talking to sellers, doing your marketing, building relationships with agents. I would lower that in priority and just focus on talking to sellers, right? Focus on talking to sellers. I have seen it where there are people out there that will call agents for an entire year and never get anywhere with agents. And that happens here in California. Because California is an ultra competitive marketplace, and they're not building agent relationships with the right agents. Okay, so if you need to cherry pick and focus your time in your real estate business, it needs to be focused on marketing. It needs to be focused on pre-screening your sellers and getting to a wholesale deal, a creative finance deal, subject to or a lease with an option to buy, right? Do not let these agents suck away your time, right? With regards to, other good follow-up questions that are coming into that, brokers, right? Will brokers want a piece of the action on your deals? That is possible. I've never personally come across that, right? But I don't know. Then again, I've never been licensed. I don't plan on getting licensed. Bill, have you heard of agents that wholesale, and because they're licensed, they have to work with their broker on that deal, or there's a fee that applies to doing business as an agent / wholesaler to the brokerage? I've never come across that scenario. Have you?
Yeah, that's not unusual at all. And just think about it. Well, first of all, to your last question, if you send a lead to an agent, find out if they can pay marketing and advertising expenses. So if you're generating business for that particular agent, him or her, the way they generate business on their own is they put ads in the paper on Craigslist, and they have expenses that they pay a month for advertising and marketing to generate new business. So maybe they're able, you're a marketing and advertising consultant, and maybe they can pay you for marketing and advertising services for the fact that you're generating new business to them. So that's one way you could discuss it with them. As far as your question is, when you get licensed and you place your license underneath a sponsoring broker, that's when you discuss what you're going to do in your business and how that particular sponsoring broker is going to view your business. That sponsoring broker is looking to make, a percentage of your business for the privilege of you putting their license underneath their broker's license. That's the way they pay their overhead, and that's how they make a profit in the business. And so, like for instance, RE/MAX, they have a transaction cost of approximately $150 per deal. So every time you do a deal, whether you sell a house, list a house, sell something on your own portfolio, they charge $150 per property, in order to help pay the overhead of the office. Now, your sponsoring broker may want additional fees in any kind of business that you do, whether it be your own personal portfolio or whether you're actually out listing and selling other people's properties. So the question is, when you go and get hired by that sponsoring broker, find out what the requirements are of that sponsoring broker. And if you don't like, what that sponsoring broker is going to want to charge you for your own personal deals, then you can choose to be with another sponsoring broker and go put your license underneath somebody else. So the key is simply to ask the sponsoring broker what their requirements are for your own personal deals as well as your deals where you're going to be listing and selling properties. That's the best answer. Find out up front. Then you're going to sign an independent contractor's agreement that states everything you agreed to in your sponsoring broker, and then you're both going to operate accordingly in the future. Back to you, go.
Nice. Yeah, Steve, you got some insight on that one because you guys talk to agents. There's two main places that I've found investor-friendly agents. Number one, posting ads on Craigslist, right? I recruit property scouts and bird dogs off of Craigslist. We post ads. We recommend if you're building a pipeline in your area, if you want to do deals locally or even virtually, right, and you're on a limited budget, start building a property scout network, which are comprised of people that are getting started in real estate, people in the construction industry, people that walk the neighborhoods, right? Or even licensed agents, brokers, and lenders in your area, right? We do get signups from people that are also licensed saying, hey, we'll be your bird dog or we want to be your property scout. The second place is go to your local RIA group, raise your hand and say, I'm looking for an investor-friendly agent, and ask them what services they offer. Okay? Give them the opportunity to sell you on why they have to do business with you, and listen to their elevator pitch, and then pick it apart or continue to ask follow-up questions so that they do the talking, and exactly, he who asks the questions is in control. So that puts you in a position to ask the follow-up questions you're looking for And the more you get them talking, eventually it's going to come out there, right? Because everybody wants to know how they are going to get paid. Bill does this, quote unquote, backwards, or has a real ninja way to tackle this. Instead of going to every RIA in town, he sets up a local open house where he invites agents and brokers who work with investors to come out, because he's looking for agents and brokers. Or he's looking for agents who would like to do business with investors, right? So you set up this event that screens out and allows the kind of people you want to network and talk to show up at the event, right? If you build it, they will come. And that'll give you clues and ideas as to the activity in the area and how to best get this one done and taken care of. All right. Steve, anything you wanted to add to that before we jump off, especially when it comes to these agents?
Yeah, I mean, well, most of the agents I've talked to have never even got to the point of discussing, referral fees or how it was going to be physically paid out. But one of the sharper ones that I've met, you've mentioned, how he could actually pay me out, right? He was asking me if I had an agent on the team, because it's more difficult for him to pay somebody who isn't licensed, whereas it's very easy for him to pay a referral fee for like a listing referral to somebody who is licensed. So that's the way that we're working with this one. He's going to pay out an agent on the team to deliver the referral fees to us.
Right. Nice. And yeah, it is that. It's rare, but it does happen. Okay. Again, I personally think that your time is best well spent talking to sellers, not agents. I don't care what market you're in. The only time you don't talk to sellers is if you've run out of people to call on Craigslist for sale by owner. Okay. I still think there's more opportunity calling on for sale by owner website or listing service or network, as opposed to farming and working agents. But in the event, okay, go ahead.
If you're working Craigslist properly, whether just cold calling it or doing, Google Voice, text, and email marketing, you're going to come across agents. You're going to come across wholesalers. You're going to come across You're going to come across everything you need. You don't need to do special marketing for them. And the sharpest agents, like the one that I'm working with and I enjoy, sees the beauty in working Craigslist, even though he has a well-established business and pipeline, right? So, I tend to find the best agents and wholesalers, just by calling FSBO and For Rent on Craigslist anyways. You don't need special marketing.
Somebody was asking, how could there be a high-quality agent on Craigslist? Well, the most successful wholesaler...
I'm a high-quality wholesaler on Craigslist.
Yeah,
there.
There's
deals there, and if you're ignoring it, you're not, someone else is going to pick them up.
Exactly.
I'd rather work with the agent maximizing every lead source, especially the free ones.
Exactly, and I'll tell, and we've got a marketing company, a service for real estate investors, right? If in case you guys didn't know that, check out learntoinvestforfree.com. There's a marketing section that outlines some of our services, and so we do get to see this happen in multiple markets across the board. Big, small, coastal markets. Some markets you guys have probably never even heard of somebody's actually doing deals in. And the most active and consistent brokers that I've consulted for, networking, talked to, interviewed, picked their brain, or come across, they have multiple lead sources, and they still keep their ear close to the ground. They still work the circuit. Maybe they don't hit Craigslist every single day, or they don't go to every single RIA group, or they don't attend, that's not what they do all the time, but they still devote some time to working those channels, right? Because it really gets easier the longer you maintain a marketing channel, or the longer and the more consistent you are at farming that database, right? When you first start on Craigslist, it's going to look daunting. It's going to look like a couple hundred or a couple thousand leads. But then you remove the duplicates. Then you come to the starting realization that over half of these were duplicates, right? Then as you go through it, you'll come across homeowners, agents, and wholesalers, vendors, contractors like Steve mentioned. So you don't have to really go anywhere else to get the variety of leads that you are looking for. And one good contact, one active person, regardless of investor, wholesaler, licensed, as long as they are a good, established, they've been in the industry for a couple years or even 10, 20, 30 years in the business, they have relationships that you can definitely benefit from. So you can start with that one contact, and they will easily fast track and put you in touch with the other people you are looking for, since you're looking to do deals, you're looking to do volume, and that's what they're in the market for as well. They want to do deals, they want to do volume. They see the value in working with you, a third party. There's a lot of collaboration going on, right? It's interesting, right? Because they say there's a lot of competition when you start out. That's because everybody's there. And then as you kind of rise to the top, okay, and you find yourself in the circle where you meet the players in the marketplace, it's less crowded at the top. Exactly. That's a nice little fun quote there. I think, was it Ziegler that said that? It's less crowded at the top, but there's also a whole lot more collaboration that goes on. Right? Interesting. But when you first start out, right, it's like no agent wants to do business with you. Wholesalers are trying to keep their buyers and deals close guarded. And that's because, a lot of people do some shady things and they get bombarded, so they kind of shut down. Right? But there is definitely more collaboration that happens at the top. The guys that we have on the session do it all the time. Right? Okay. So let's see. Maria says a lot of my calls, Craigslist calls, are realtors. Exactly. Right. And yeah, before you go into the big marketing or you commit to sending your entire marketing budget, and whether your marketing budget is $100 or $10,000, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's your marketing budget, and what's big to you is what's big to you. And sometimes, spending that first $100, it can be very scary, and you really have to maximize it. Right? So Craigslist also addresses that. It gets the marbles out of your mouth, and it helps give you insight, okay? Because you're going to come to one of two conclusions. I hate calling Craigslist. I'd rather just pay for some direct mail or buy some leads from somebody or start a PPC campaign than do this. Then you're really going to appreciate those leads a whole lot better, right? Because you never want to go back to Craigslist. Or the flip side of it is, this is actually a lot easier than I thought. We've made calls live on the session, got stuff under contract, and negotiated with sellers, found good vendors just on Craigslist. So you're like, you know what? This is not so bad. If this is the quality of leads that I can get my hands on doing for free, what can paid marketing do for me? So again, there's a natural appreciation, or it helps you, you know what? You really will make the most of that next lead source, whatever comes along. Right? We do direct mail, we do PPC, and these days, sometimes it's like maybe we should just focus on in-house and just helping, bridge gaps with other investors and helping them transition into full-time, right? Kind of scaling down the operation, just because we'll get people that'll order like PPC, and they don't realize how much effort goes into that campaign, right? Or they'll rush their marketing out. Right? That's one thing. Everybody's trying to rush their direct mail these days. And I'm like, it's the holiday weekend. Do you really want to do this? Yeah. I'm like, they send it out much to our, we'll tell them not to, but they still do it anyway. They'll get low response rates, or they'll use standard postage instead of priority mail. And guys, standard can take up to 30 days before that letter gets delivered. Right? And I see you on the session. I know you sent 5,000 units, but I also know when we looked at your campaign, because I know the vendor you do business with, they told me that you sent out standard postage. Okay? And so you ordered 5,000 units. Great. You had them all dropped at one time, which, by the way, you did by accident, right? Because when we had talked, your intention was to send them in small drops, right? But now they said you did not put that in the order. So when they sent out your order, they sent out 5,000 units. They used standard postage. They had you clear that. You double checked it. So it can still take up to 30 days before that letter arrives in that seller. So it really does that necessarily mean that direct mail doesn't work in your market? If it's only been 2 weeks, you sent a campaign during a holiday weekend, you use standard postage, you're really facing an uphill battle. And the best way to deal with that without racking your brains, time is now your friend. Let it run its course, right? And start courting Craigslist. So with that, guys, thanks for jumping on. Steve's last comment here to the group is, I preferred Craigslist to paid marketing for a long time. Sometimes it's a whole lot better. Oh, by the way, Steve, I was kind of thinking about that scenario, and you know what? That might work out in our favor as well, right? Because if they might have accidentally created... it's a sleight of hand trick, and this could work in our favor, where they accidentally made 100 things now look like it's 200. So we'll simply go through the same 100 leads, but it now looks like we attempted to contact them twice. Right? But yeah, but you know the drill. Talk to the leads team first, see who did what, and then I'm leaning more towards just leaving it. If all of the leads were already properly assigned anyway, it's easier to send out a memo to just do a double tap. Thanks for jumping on, guys. My name is Gil, on behalf of Bill, Steve, and all of our other content contributors. We'll see you on the next live session. We will not have a session tomorrow. Wednesday tends to be a extremely busy day for us. It is hump day, and especially during this time of year, so we will not have a session tomorrow. If you get a notification that there's a Wednesday session, I'm letting you guys know right now there is no Wednesday session, and I'll go ahead and cancel tomorrow's scheduled session. So even if you try to log in, it's going to say the next session will be on Thursday. Okay? So with that, guys, have a fantastic day. Make it a great one.